This is Dave with Excel for Geologists, and this tutorial is on pivot charts. In a previous exercise on pivot tables, we looked at oil and gas production data for the year 2000 in Natrona County, Wyoming. In this tutorial, we'll look at synthesizing and visualizing that production data using pivot charts. In this pivot table, we have oil and gas production by age. We want to add a few items to this. So let's first click on any cell, and that should bring up your field list. If it doesn't appear, you can simply do this by going up to where it says Pivot Tables, Analyze, and click on Analyze, which brings up the Analyze ribbon, and get the field list. I'll caution you not to double click on the cells. If you do, you might get surprised, as it will bring up a new sheet showing a table of your data from which your pivot table was made. We'll just click back to our pivot chart worksheet. And now let's add two more items. We're going to add our total OEBs. So we'll just drag that down into our values. We want it to be a sum, which it is. And we want to get the count of our wellbore IDs, or number of wells. So we'll bring that down and grab the twisty, value field settings, and change it to count. Okay. Now let's insert our pivot chart. So under Pivot Table Tools and Analyze in the main menu, we'll find Pivot Chart. We'll click on that. You see a preview. We'll just take the clustered, the default here, which is the clustered chart, and let's make it a little bit bigger. Now this chart isn't too useful, so let's do some cosmetics to it and make it more readable. The first thing I'd like to do to make this more readable is I'd like to get these intervals that are most productive on the left side of the chart and have them decrease to the right. In order to do that, we're going to sort by the sum of OEB. So we'll come over into our pivot table, right click, sort, and descending, or largest to smallest. The next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to change some colors. I always like to see oil in green, now it's orange, and gas in red, which is in blue. Red and green are standard colors in the oil industry, so we'll click on the column for oil and right click and format data series. We don't need this anymore. And let's come over to color, and we want it to be red, or green rather. It's oil, so we'll make it green. And let's click over here on the gas, and we'll make that red. I really can't read the number of wells on this scale, and so we could label those. And to do that, it's hard to select them or even see them. So let's just click on any column, and then we'll come over to Data and to Series Options, and we'll click on Count of Wellbore IDs. Now they're highlighted. Let's right click, Format Data Series. Oops, wrong box. We're going to add data labels first. There. Now we get to see the count of the number of wells. I think there's a lot more we could do to make this chart more readable. So let's right click on the chart and change the chart type. And let's come down and make this a combo chart. And instead of this being clustered column, let's make this a stacked column. And it automatically put the total OEBs as a line, which is a lot nicer. But it's still hard to see this count of wellbore ID. So let's do this. Let's put that on a second axis. And now it's a line and you can see it. So say OK. Let's move these labels. So select them, right click, Format Data Labels, and over here we can center them. So let's center them. That's a bit better. And let's change the font type and the size. Let's make that like a 14. No, that's too big. How about 12? And maybe italic. That's a little better. I really don't want to see this gray line. That's really not adding anything to our chart. Select it, and let's just make that a very small marker. So we'll come over to Markers, and Marker Options, Built In. Let's make it, say, like a plus sign, and let's take it as small as we can. 0. And the next thing is, let's just get rid of the line. So we'll say no line. Now we have a chart that I think is pretty readable and useful. I hope you found this tutorial useful, and look for more Excel for Geologists videos.